Hi, I'm Vakisha Fripp,
And I'm Patrice Johnson.
and together with our good friend Hope, we are
The voice of her.
So we decided that we will continue on with the conversation we had last week on friendship because there were some things that happened that were sort of juicy during the week.
Right. And so, as you know, we always start the show with a little bit about pop culture
Yep.
or maybe what's trending. And so, an extension of those friendships also comes, right? Relationships.
Yep.
And so, the hot topic in this week's news was obviously Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan.
Yep, over. Mhm.
Before it started, it seems to most of us anyway.
Yep.
But that particular breakup, along with that, I think there was a cryptic message that the mom posted that said something like, if you stay in shit too long, then you stop smelling it. So,
Woo!
yeah.
Lord.
So, like most topics, it,
Yeah.
created a conversation,
Yeah.
that we wanted to have with you and share our thoughts on that perspective.
Yep. And our question is, when is the last time? Overstaying relationships and spaces. So when do you know the last time is the last time? Patrice, I'm going to start with you. What's your line in the sand? When do you know it's over?
I think if I had to measure it, I always say when I become indifferent. However, that's easier said than done because there's usually a journey to indifference, right? So I can't say that I have a definitive metric to say when this happens, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I know when that feeling comes, I know that feeling. But I can't say, if after this many times or X things happen, with the exception of, whatever may be considered a deal breaker, obviously.
Right.
Just when you're in a situation and maybe it's not going well, maybe some needs are being met, maybe not all, maybe only your wants are being met, maybe your needs are not being met.
Yeah.
Then I think that's when maybe sometimes the line get gray and then you kind of wonder, okay, do I stay? Do I try to make it work? So to me, there's always a fine line. And I think that also varies, I don't know, from situation to situation. What about you?
So indifference is a factor for me. And I don't think my life is a baseball game. So it's not 3 strikes you out. I can give you 10 strikes. Or you could be out on the first strike. It really depends on how I feel about you.
I like that.
Now, I will say I'm different because I have children. So my line in the sand is if you don't get along with my children. And what I say is that some people aren't used to being around young children. My kids have dynamic personalities. They are stubborn and they are spoiled. I will admit to that. So a person coming in who may have been raised in the traditional South or with traditional, separation between children and adults may not warm to them initially. So I give that some time. But if you don't engage with my children on a level where you can be in the same space with them and you all can have fun together, if they're avoiding you and you're avoiding them or asking me, do you have your kids today? Well, see, doesn't matter if I have my kids. That shouldn't be the question. The question is, am I available to go to Paris today? That should be the question you should ask me, not if I have my kids today. So children in the relationship that men have with my children is very important. I don't need you to be their father because they have an amazing dad. I need you, though, to be a father figure in their life and be in a space where you can engage with them. That's what's important to me. But indifference, once I don't care, I'm only going to be here for the fun, just so you know. And when the fun stops after that, when things don't happen that I like, it's going to be over.
I always say when I start saying, okay, like I'm done.
Right,
and
there's
sometimes,
no argument.
there's no argument. There's no reason to. There's no energy being spent. And I hate saying things like I don't care, but that's really what it is. Like
when
you
stop
move to a point when you stop caring, and it may sound harsh. But
it's true because if you stay in shit too long, you stop smelling it. That's true because once you agree that you're not going to call a thing like a Jan Levin said, if you're not going to call it out every time it happens, and you start not seeing it, then it just allows that to continue. And you find yourself being someplace way too long. I don't know what it was with Michael B. Jordan, or it could have been Lori's issues. I wish them both well. They're very attractive people. I'm sure they'll be with somebody today. In fact, I heard she already is. Good for her. Hopefully good for him too. But I think relationships always surprise people when it ends because what we see is that things are all great. They were at the Met Gala. They were dressed nice. He looks handsome. She looks good. We think it looks wonderful and it's going wonderful.
Right. Because I think we've also become accustomed to breaking up because of something or
I get it.
someone else, or we're looking for a scandal. Maybe we're even looking for infidelity. But sometimes people, and you said it earlier, you're just not compatible.
Just not compatible.
You're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yep.
Doesn't make you a good person. Doesn't make me. My mother used to always say, "It's somebody for everybody."
Yeah.
You know, I may not just be your cup of tea,
That's
and
true.
you may not. And we should be okay with that.
We should be okay with that, and being okay, saying, you know what, I am not going to be able to make you happy, because for me, I am not going to live this life knowing that every day I'm going to be unhappy. I just can't do it. Not for the sake of my children, not for the sake of saying I'm in a relationship, not for the sake of my friends, not thinking that I'm single. I am single. Like, I used to have a friend. We have a friend in common, and she's like, I would never be on a dating website because then people will know I'm single. They already know. They know. They see you. I see you. You are single, right? So what would it matter if you were on Match or all the other ones? You are single and you're looking for a man. So that's where you would go to find a man, outside of being in a club or lounge or event.
Correct.
Right?
I agree. And I think when you go back to when you ask yourself, when is the last time, like, I think that is a real question you have to ask, because I do think you have to know what you are willing to do, how much of yourself you're willing to extend. Like, when we were talking to the fellas earlier, we talked about, compromising, and, do you make sure that other persons know that they're valued? Because what if you're asking me to do something it's just not me. Right. It's not in my natural capacity or habitat to do. Right. And we have to figure out, like, how much do you need that? Right?
Am I going to do it for you?
Or am I going to do it for you?
And I think that's what the guys were saying. Because one point that was made is, at some point you have to give a little bit, because you don't want the person to think it's always going to have to be your way, right? Because nobody wants to live under the thumb of somebody else.
I agree.
So even if you say, I'm not going to do this all the time, but occasionally I'm going to do it to let you know I heard you. I think that's fair. I hear you and I see you, right?
I think that's fair.
And so that's what that leads into our next segment. So Patrice introduced me to a video. Please elaborate.
Well, let's do this. Let's cut to the video and have you to take a look. And then we'll come right back after to get your thoughts. And then we're going to share our thoughts. All right? Be right back.
You can't even get women nowadays to bring their man a plate, rub his feet, just basic things. The attitude of so many women that I see now is they don't want to cater to a man in it's almost like it's a dirty word. They don't want to compete for a man. They want him to just pick her because she's so special. But it's too much competition. There's too much out here. What are you doing to outbeat the competition? What are you doing to win over a man? And a lot of women, they don't want to do it. They want to have attitudes, not be in, work on themselves in any kind of way, physically, mentally, spiritually. Just think they just show up. Me being alive, being a woman with a vagina is enough for a man to choose me. Accept me as I am. All the men need to change. All the men need to stop being this way. But us women, we're perfect out the womb. We're perfect. Just because we're born, we're perfect beings. And it's all these men. But but that's good news for me, because I'm going to compete. And I'm glad that they've taken themselves out the competition. That's less work for me.
So, V.
Okay.
After watching that video, I mean, we could take it in so many directions. Right. But let's kind of take it to, first, well, let me ask this. Are you the complete package?
And so that's a great question. And I would say yes.
And what does that mean?
So for me, the complete package is measuring all levels. That's physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. Okay. So what I will say is, physically, a person would like me and I would like them. I'm not for everybody, right? And it's that John Legend song, I'm the best you ever had. I didn't say I was the best. I'm saying I'm the best you ever had. If you like me, you may not like tall girls with children, but you have to like me. So if you like me, yes, physically, I'm going to be the person for you. Spiritually, I believe in God. I don't want to hear you say I believe in whatever. Listen to me. If his name not God, we not compatible, right? So that's what I am, the complete package on spiritually. Emotionally, I have been blessed to not have any childhood traumas or emotional traumas. Though things have happened to me in life that I didn't want to happen to me, I have adopted the Beyonce rule, which is cry and be devastated for 48 hours. And then have a plan and work that plan and make things change. So that's what I do. When bad things happen to me, I wallow as low as anybody else. Every pig in the mud, that I'm with them. I'm crying. I'm doing all these things. But then I regroup and I get a plan. I try to work that plan. And then the last thing is mentally. I believe in God, so it helps me with my mental health. I also run. So there are times when I wake up and I'm melancholy. I am. But I know how to reset myself because if I exercise or if I run, it releases some endorphins. And I also complete thoughts when I run. Right. And that's why I try to run by myself. I don't partner up when I run, never have, because it allows me to have that space to get through. So if you look at the 4 things I measure the package by, yes, I am the complete package. Now, does that mean that I don't have room to improve? And this is the first time I'll probably admit this. I do. Because I don't really believe it, but I've been told it so many times by my friends that there has to be a space for improvement.
Has to be.
And with that improvement for me is in learning how to share my space, learning how to be open to what the other person is saying, and then learning how to move and give an inch either way. Okay, complete package, Patrice. Tell me about you.
Listen,
what would you tell people if they asked you?
I would say absolutely. But I think I want to spin it because I think you kind of captured a lot of what I was going to say.
Okay.
I think the part that stood out to me was when she talked about she's going to compete.
Yeah.
And see, I'm like, but I'm not.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not.
If you like me, again, what you're saying, then you like me. See, me, I've never had a flat stomach. I've never had that. So, but I've also never had a steam issue because my mother told me early on, baby, you don't have no flat stomach. You can't wear that. So I'm not really, so that means I already know, like, you go to like me a little thick, you know what I'm saying? I'm on the short side, but you can't tell me, look, this is my philosophy. It's 2 men in a room. And me, Beyonce, and Halle Berry walk in. One of them hoes coming up short. I don't know who. So, like, that's how I see myself. If you're into me, right? Why am I competing? Now, I get what she was trying to say. You know what I mean? That there are other women, their interests, maybe men, but there's always going to be someone
Absolutely.
else.
There'll be a person with a
smarter, bigger.
Oh my God, yes.
Always. And I feel like if you get caught up in that, now, whatever I decide to do, we talked about this. I am a plate fixer. I'll fix your plate. I'll come back and get your plate.
Right.
But that's just who I am and what I've chosen to do. It does not make a woman who chooses not to do those things means that she's not competing, because you can get a guy, he may not even be into that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think my dilemma with the plate fixing, and it's something I wrestle with even still. The plate fixing to me is, what is wrong with you? Why can't you get your own damn plate? And for me, I fixed 3 kids' plates and my own. So why am I fixing you? You should be fixing my plate because I already fixed these 3 kids' plates.
I think I see that to me, and it could be because I grew up like that. Like for me, it's like a forehead kiss. It's a term of endearment. You know what I mean?
I understand that now. I do.
It's it's me, being soft or whatever. I enjoy it. And honestly, I came from a house where you fix a plate of any man. Like if a man walked in, have a seat. We have, but that's where I came.
Don't you teach Lauren that?
I'm going to teach her that, but I'm going to teach her she can do that if she so desires.
I get it.
If that's not a natural desire for you, then you don't do that. I think the thing with that is you do what you think. And a guy taught me this. He was like, "Don't do what you think I want. Do what I ask you." In other words, hear my needs. Hear those things that matter to me. Okay. Because I'm out here fixing plates when in reality he might want his back scratched. And I ain't got no nails. I didn't go to the nail shop. But that
goes to love language, right? So do you believe in love languages?
I absolutely do.
Okay, so tell me about what your love language is, and then what you're willing to do to compromise to meet someone else's love language.
I always say I'm willing to do what feels good to me. Because that could change, right? There were some things that I'm willing to do now that I was not willing to do in my 20s.
Keep it clean.
Facts.
Keep it clean.
I'm just saying, it is not even, I'm just saying it's not even sexual.
No, I understand.
But I'm just saying, like, I think that changes. I think that also changes with how that person makes you feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because sometimes you can get somebody that's just as sweet to you. You might be like, you know what? Massaging your feet with a little Johnson & Johnson baby oil ain't that bad.
Yeah, I don't mind doing those
so I think
things.
You're right. Yeah.
You're right. So my love language is all of them. And so
of course they are.
I need all of them. I don't want you to stop doing one and don't get, because I like gifts. I like words of affirmation. I like touch. I like every last one of them.
Okay. You like them. Are you okay with displaying all of them if your partner also?
No. So I am a receiver. That's what I always say. And that's what I probably need to work on. I'm okay if you give me a gift. I'm going to be cautious in what I give as your gift, because my mom always said, don't start stuff you can't keep doing. So I don't want to start doing something and I turn around and every time I look at you, you're looking at me like it's time for that. Like, no, that was just a one. That was for your birthday.
Even if that's his love language.
That's for your birthday. That's not for every day. Don't look at me for that every day.
So how are you then? What is your strategy for making sure you meet the need? I mean, their needs, their wants, obviously. So what's your strategy for making sure you meet the needs of your partner?
So I am doing a better job intentionally of listening to what a person tells me. I'm not going to say a person, with the gentleman I'm in a relationship with. I'm doing a better job of listening to what he is telling me he wants. And separating that from the things that he genuinely needs.
Okay.
I'm not really a want person, but if you do need that, I've decided that I have to create space for you to get those things done. And that's just the truth. I don't know that I was in a headspace where I would have ever done that before, even been knowledgeable or even open to listening to a person's needs before. But it is a thing that I realized it's not just, I never thought it was all about me. I don't want people to think that I was selfish and I thought it was all about me. I just felt like I'm doing things like you should recognize I'm busy. So you shouldn't need that. But everybody has something they need, right? And so I have learned and opened myself up to learn more about what it would take to make that person happy, because their happiness will then make them do more of the things I want them to do.
But guess what? It's a game. Whether you call it that or not, it is. You do a little bit more, you might get a little bit more. Maybe. I don't know. But you have to decide, I think, and set that for yourself.
I agree.
There are just some things that are much more are easier, not more easy, but easier for me to do than others. Like I said, there are some things that just innate, like fixing a plate, that don't bother me at all. But I don't know what those other things are that may, but I'm just saying, I'm sure they're out there. But I think, but that's to be commended, friend, because you said you wouldn't have been open. So that shows growth and maturity. And I think that also says something about the relationship that you're in, because whether men want to admit this or not, a lot of what you get out of us sometimes is a lot about how you treat us.
Absolutely.
Because for us, all of those things are intangibles. When you make me feel secure and you very, a provider, like it makes me want to then, be a little bit more,
For me, it's taking things off my list. Because I have things that have to be done, whether it be work related, my kids, the house. So if you can take things off my list and do them. Now, don't say you're going to do it and don't do it, because then that makes me mad, because I thought I didn't have to do that. Here I am now doing it. But if you take things off my list, that's more important to me than anything else. I still like gifts. I don't want to say that I don't want to have a gift. But that takes so much weight off me that it opens me up to say, okay, now I'm going to, I don't have all those things to do. I now can focus on you.
Right. So I want to ask you this question. And I want to ask you guys this question as well. With that being said, there was this one, I'm an old school song. I love an old school song.
Okay.
And the song said, what you won't do for love.
Yeah.
So with those things, he takes those things off his list, or off your list rather. What is it that you won't do for love?
So I will never compromise my religion.
Ooh,
ever.
Yes.
And I mean that. I'm just too old and I can see heaven, right? So I know I'm going sooner than later. And even if I wasn't, even if I was a young person, I believe in God. I believe that that is my home. I'm not homesick, but I know that heaven is my home. So I will not compromise a person telling me that they don't believe in God. I will not compromise the safety of my children. If at any point I feel like you have said something, even if you didn't mean it, if I perceived it in that way, we're done. And then lastly, any type of anger directed at me in a callous way, I'm done. Because I feel like you can get upset with a person. There's a difference between upset and being angry with a person. Anger is something that gets out of control, right? Anger is why people get stabbed, run over, all that. If you can get angry at me and you can't reel yourself back in, I just don't feel comfortable in that space. And that's a line in the sand for me. Everything else, I feel like we can negotiate. You know what I'm saying? Things can happen. We can change things. They just happen, right? So those are my things. So I'm going to say it again, Dion. So anger is my issue that I feel is a line in the sand as well, because it's okay to be upset with someone. But when you are angry, that leads you to actions you can't take back. That's when people get killed and physical, domestic situations happen, because you have an anger you can't control. being upset, you can tell me, I don't want to talk to you right now. I need some space. I'm 100% with it because I feel like I'm going to say that to you too during the course of a relationship. But anger is something that makes me uncomfortable because I never experienced that growing up. And I'm blessed in that way. There was never anybody angry in my home or in any situation I was in as a child. So now it makes me uncomfortable when I see it. So what are your things you won't do for love? Or is there anything you won't do for love? You one of them girls who going to do anything?
No, that's
okay.
Not, that's okay. Not me. But I will say you did hit on one, which is real big for me. Obviously, is definitely religion. Yeah. Right. My faith. Like that's the core of who I am. Yeah. Right. I have to go into details on that. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And I think the other thing is that I think growing up with all sisters, the thing my dad always made us feel was protected. You know what I mean? And that could mean a number of things. Yeah. But I need to feel like you got me, you see me, down to, let's say we're out together. Like, I'm just giving an example. This is something I don't like. It may not necessarily be a deal breaker per se, but if we're out and every time we're out, you've had one too many, and we're somewhere and you can't make sure we good or I'm good, or you just, like, that is like
exhausting.
I can't, because that means you are not even in a position to protect me. Right. And I think the other thing is that I always say, I need to like you as a person, right? I want to see how you treat your mom, how you treat your sisters. I'm not, I didn't make a fool, all of those things. Like, do I like you as a person? Can I sit across the room? Could we go somewhere and have a drink just on a Friday with no, you know what I mean? Like, that's important to me. Correct. Like, so those are I think those are the things that I look for.
Yeah, if we're not having fun, then what are we doing?
What are we doing? And I love a kiki. I love a champagne and a kiki, honey.
I love a champagne. God, I love a champagne. Yes. Lord have mercy. Cheers. Cheers to love. Right? So we're going to end the show today by telling what we've done over the past 2 weeks. We just had a holiday, and I took my kids to Chincoteague Island. It was a place I seen on the internet where the ponies actually run free on the island. And they have a park called Assateague National Park where you can go, and to be there on a holiday weekend and not have the crowds was amazing because it's a national park. You have to pay to get onto the property. And so we were able to go out there and hang out there for a little while. Then we had this little cute house. It was cute. It was family time and it was cute. However, I want to have my hot girl spring, which is what you had. So tell me what you did. 'Cause you had fun.
I don't know if it was a hot girl, but I went to one, I'm a music lover.
That's right.
And I'm a lover of a good vibe.
Yep.
And I had both. Just a group of friends, some of us kind of meeting for the first time through other friends in a sense, but it was such a good vibe. We went to see Anita Baker at the Venetian, and the show was phenomenal. Like, it was so good.
I give her no competition.
None. Like, so it was the beginning of a hot girl summer. But the way these prices looking, it's looking real good right now. But
expensive.
But that sounds like a great time, and we hope that you guys are doing things to enjoy this summer. Hit us back. Let us know the fun things you're doing, what you plan to do, where you plan to go. Because we may talk about that later in some of our segments, some good travel,
I think
maybe
we'll
nice
talk
spots.
About next time.
Yeah, some good food. Maybe we'll get into that. Some local
places too.
Yeah.
We'll get those. So you all in the DMV, right?
Yeah.
We're U.S. travel. So we can tell you some place in almost every state and city, right?
For sure. And country.
Let's be clear. So we look forward to engaging with you. This has been a complete delight. It's always good when I'm here at Patrice, and our girl Hope is always the life of the party. So we hope that you enjoyed yourself. We'll talk soon.
Don't forget to keep the conversation going.
That's right. Bye.